Infinite is a game that I absolutely love, as I have been a Halo fan for years. However, I feel like there is a lot of good stuff in Halo Infinite, as well as some not-so-good stuff. So, here are my thoughts on both Season 1 and 2 of Halo Infinite. Also, unlike most Halo YouTubers, I'm going to try my best to not be overly pessimistic or negative in this video. Rather, I'm going to offer some constructive feedback about how I feel. And yes, just in case you were wondering, here are my hours in Halo MCC. Anyways, let's talk about Season 1 and address some of the positive stuff first. Aside from Halo Infinite being released in the first place, Season 1 had a very strong start. For its first month or so, Big Team Battle was in a very good place. The game felt really good on PC, the game modes were fun, and the game had around 250,000 players on it, so that's not a negligible number. You could easily find a match within seconds. Arenas mode was also really fun, and had introduced a lot of experimental game modes. Some of them were classics, such as CTF, Slayer, and Oddball, but other ones, like Strongholds, were new to the game and were very awesome to play. The maps that the game started out with were also amazing. Livefire, Bazaar, Streets, and Behemoth had a lot of matches in which I played out of my mind. In the middle of the game, the developers had ended up fixing their mistake with, in quotes, green names, in which people that you queued into a match with were not designated as part of your party while playing. The campaign was also added pretty early into the season, and it was really good. I personally liked the campaign and some of the side objectives that you could do in it. The campaign also had this really neat bug in which you could carry a Scorpion tank cannon, and a lot of people thought that this was the second coming of the Scarab gun, which kept people really engaged in exploring the entire map. Midway through Season 1, Big Team Battle was given a bit of a facelift that would make vehicles like the Wasp, Banshee, Wraith, and Scorpion tank spawn a lot more often, which spiced up gameplay. Alright, and now that I've addressed the more positive stuff, let's get into the not-so-positive stuff. First off, Halo 3 ODST was getting some updates that people were asking about for years. Well, things weren't going so well for the Halo Infinite developers, which caused a lot of understandable frustration. We also found out that Halo Infinite's code was kind of a clusterfuck due to the fact that most of the people that were working on the game were contract workers, which is not a very good business model for a AAA game development studio. By the way, here's something worth noting. At the end of Halo Infinite's campaign, the credits are roughly 26 minutes long. That is insane. When the campaign was added to Halo Infinite, two things happened. Number one was the fact that the developers had to announce that Co-op and Forge were going to be delayed until Season 2, which is not a good look since people were really looking forward to Co-op and Forge. But something else had happened. Big Team Battle was shut down for nearly 2 months. The exact issue causing this was unknown. However, this was a major factor in what made people jump ship when it came to playing this game. A lot of people were not happy with the Mangler's 2-hit combo, which would kill someone in a second, if not less than a second. The anti-cheat wasn't working for the first couple of weeks, but that was addressed right away. Theater mode was in a very bad state, and rewatching your old matches was nearly impossible. Mr. Chief was added, which caused a massive stir in the community, as they thought it was 343's way of trying to profit off of a character that made fun of people for disliking a system that Halo 5 Guardians had. Here's an example shown here.
Lastly, but not leastly, you have single-use cards. These are for your vehicles and power weapons, like this magnificent, perfectly crafted death delivery device.
Wait, won't rec packs with special weapons break the exquisitely refined balance of arena multiplayer?
Secure your noise hole, soldier! Grown-ups are talking.
Damn it.
Long story short, only cosmetic rec items and boosts can be used in arena, but everything is fair game in Warzone. In this mode, players compete in an epic 12v12 battle that will fill your heart with a mighty thunderous joy. This is a rec station. You're gonna be seeing a lot of these around Warzone maps. You can redeem your rec cards at rec stations for items like vehicles and weapons. They're like ATMs, but instead of small denomination bills, they dispense power, death, and glory.
So can't someone save up their rec cards, join a Warzone match, and spawn an uber-powerful vehicle?
Your noise hole just doesn't know when to quit.
Oh geez, I wonder why this dislike ratio existed. The Tenrai event occurred 3 times, and while people were a little bit happy about that, there was also a lot of players that wanted to see new content, which made a lot of people upset. Other live service games like Apex Legends are jam-packed full of content, and have a very robust combat system. Halo Infinite, on the other hand, only had the robust combat system, so the lack of content was turning a lot of people off from the game. Let's compare Apex Legends and Halo Infinite once more. Apex Legends seasons last for about 3 months. However, Season 1 for Halo Infinite lasted for 6 months, which is about the amount of time that Apex Legends has for 2 major updates, not including events in the middle. Remember when I said that player count started off at 250,000? Well, it dipped down to 7,000 for a while. That's a horrible sign. And was almost having a community competition with Battlefield 2042 over how many players were in a server at a time. Total Control, Stronghold, and Stockpile all had different game-breaking bugs, meaning that there was basically no win condition if certain circumstances were met. This could completely stall matches, and in the case of Stockpile, well, make the game last for an eternity. Halo tournaments were disconnecting due to latency issues on local area networks. I'm not even sure how that happens. Halo competitive MMR was a joke, meaning that you could raise your MMR outside of competitive. And last but not least, there was a certain GPU bug going around for a lot of people that had Nvidia cards, myself included, in which models would stretch out forever. Normally, this is a sign that your graphics card is dying. However, this was a software issue and not a hardware issue. This bug was happening for console players as well. Alright, now the same for Season 2, which I don't have much to say in either category since Season 2 is still ongoing. As far as I know, the scary GPU bug was fixed, but if it happens again, I'll probably make a video talking about that. 2 new maps were added, Catalyst and Breaker. Breaker, which is the new Big Team Battle map, was something that I fell in love with immediately. The flow of the level is fun, and the fact that it had map hazards that weren't just bottomless pits was also cool, and I hope that in the future more things like this are made. Last Spartan Standing is a really cool and experimental game mode that acts as more or less a small-scale gun game / battle royale hybrid, which I personally find to be a very neat experiment. Catalyst is a fun map, and I feel as though it has a lot of potential. However, I think that there's some flaws with it at the same time, but I'll get into that later on. Fragmentation was given a facelift, bringing in campaign-exclusive variants of the original power weapons to incentivize people in checking out the vaults more often, which I think adds a bit more of a twist to Big Team Battle. The bugs that plagued Stockpile were fixed, at least as far as I'm aware, and a lot of the general bugs that made PvP not that fun were also fixed. The event for Season 2 was also really cool, and it showed off Eratus, the new Brute AI, which I think looks absolutely stunning. Not only that, but there's some really neat lore stuff going on. However, I want people to find out more about that, so I won't spoil it for you. The Halo community has been quite pleased with the fact that 343 ended up tweaking some of the stats of some of the weapons to make, well, some of them better, while making some of them weaker. King of the Hill was also added to Quick Play, meaning that now players had more stuff to do in the game, which is always nice. The chopper was given a buff to make it more similar to the Halo 3 chopper, and last but not least, it seems as though the Scorpion tank bug was patched, but re-added after a lot of players were fed up with the change, meaning that 343 Industries is willing to listen to their player base. A lot of the bugs that changed speedrunning, as well as the tank gun, were patched out at one point, which means that, well, it harmed the speedrunning community and makes people not want to go for world records in that game. Plus, it gives people like MintBlitz less stuff to do in the campaign, and I always like checking out the odd MintBlitz video every once in a while. Theater mode has yet to be touched, which is upsetting at this point. I don't even need to explain why. It's still in its current broken state, and I wish the developers would do something about it. Forge and Co-op were delayed again, which understandably upset a lot of players for very obvious reasons. Catalyst, while being a fun map, has a lot of flaws. For example, these two doors here restrict nade play and hinder movement a little bit. Essentially, you create an unneeded choke point that really doesn't change the map for the better. If anything, it's a tad irritating. Oddball on Catalyst is not very fun and is just full of ball reset points. Just look at this sucks. And the bugs revolving around Strongholds, King of the Hill, and Total Control still exist, meaning that during a match, sometimes points will just not be able to be captured, which can throw an entire game out the window. And finally, before I wrap up this video, I wish to say this. This is more so my personal opinion about the current state of Oddball. Oddball seriously needs a rework. With maps like Recharge, Livefire, and Catalyst, you have 3 maps in which people can camp around a really large pit and just kinda get really cheeky ball resets. Personally, I think a good way to dissuade this sort of behavior is to have point penalties for throwing the ball off of the map. Also, Oddball should really be introduced to Bazaar. It's really fun on streets because of the fact that it's closed. So why not Bazaar, which is an even more closed-off map? I think that would be really, really good. Also, this number makes me sad, I'm not gonna lie. Anywho, I hope you liked this video. Leave a like, comment, and subscribe, because it helps out the channel. And I'll see you in the next one. Techmo